The yellow Danfo bus coughed black smoke as it rolled into Oshodi station. Night had fallen over Lagos, and the bus was packed with tired workers heading home. In the back seat sat a young man named Chuka. 22 years old, thin face, eyes that had seen too much. He wore a faded shirt and old jeans, but something about him felt different. Dangerous. While other passengers chatted about their day, Chuka stayed silent. He watched everyone but said nothing. His hands were clean, but his fingernails had dirt under them. His bag was small, but he held it like it contained secrets. The bus stopped. New passengers climbed in. An elderly woman squeezed next to Chuka, breathing heavily from the rush. She looked at his face and froze. Her eyes went wide with fear. "You," she whispered, grabbing his arm. "You're that boy from the news. The one they're looking for." Chuka turned to face her slowly. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "Ma, you must be mistaken." But the woman shook her head, her grip tightening. "No mistake. You shouldn't be here, son. They'll kill you if they find you." The bus engine rumbled. Other passengers couldn't hear their whispered conversation. Chuka smiled sadly. "Ma, sometimes the most dangerous place is also the safest place to hide." The woman's face went pale as she realized what he meant. Morning came to Oshodi Market with its usual chaos. Traders shouted prices, customers bargained loudly, and motorcycles weaved through narrow paths between stalls. But something was wrong today. Mrs. Kemi, who sold tomatoes next to Uncle Bayo's stall, noticed he hadn't opened for business. Uncle Bayo was always first to arrive, always ready to make money. "Uncle Bayo," she called. No answer. She walked to his stall and found the padlock still closed. But when she looked closer, she saw something that made her scream. Blood. Dark red drops leading from the lock to behind the stall. Within minutes, a crowd gathered. Someone called the police. When they broke open the stall, they found Uncle Bayo's body crumpled behind bags of rice. His throat had been cut clean. "Ritual killers," someone shouted. "They want his blood for money rituals." But Inspector Fadeke, who arrived with the police team, saw something different. She knelt beside the body, studying the wounds. "This wasn't ritual killing," she said quietly. "This was personal. Someone he knew did this." Her assistant, Sergeant Tund, pointed to the padlock. "Ma, we found fingerprints here. Clear ones." Inspector Fadeke put on gloves and examined the lock carefully. The killer had been careless or desperate. "Run those prints through the system immediately," she ordered. 6 hours later, Sergeant Tund returned with results that shocked everyone. "Ma, the fingerprints match a young man named Chuka Okafor. University dropout. No criminal record, but..." "But what?" "He was here yesterday. Multiple witnesses saw him." Inspector Fadeke stared at Chuka's photo on her computer screen. Clean face, intelligent eyes, no history of violence. Something didn't add up. "Sergeant Tund, this boy has no criminal record. Why would he suddenly kill someone? Maybe he needed money, Ma. These young boys can do anything these days." But Fadeke wasn't convinced. She had been a police officer for 15 years. She knew when evidence felt too easy, too perfect. Her phone rang. The caller ID showed her boss, Commissioner Adebayo. "Fadeke, I hear you have the Oshodi Market killer's fingerprints. Good work. Arrest him immediately." "Sir, I need more time to investigate. The evidence seems..." "The evidence is clear. The public wants justice. Arrest him today." The line went dead. Fadeke sat back in her chair, troubled. Why was the commissioner rushing her? Good police work took time. That night, as she prepared for bed in her apartment, her phone rang again. Unknown number. Hello. A deep voice spoke slowly. Inspector Fadeke. Who is this? Someone who knows the truth about the market murder. You're making a mistake if you arrest that boy. What do you mean? The boy is innocent. But if you free him, you'll bury your own blood. The line went dead. Fadeke's hands shook as she set down the phone. She walked to her daughter's room and checked that she was sleeping safely. Someone was watching her. Someone knew where she lived. Someone was threatening her child. The next morning, police officers found Chuka sleeping under Eco Bridge. He didn't run when they approached. He didn't fight when they handcuffed him. He just stared at them with those strange, knowing eyes. At the police station, Inspector Fadeke tried everything to make him talk. Chuka, your fingerprints were on the victim's padlock. Multiple witnesses saw you at the market. Just tell me what happened. Silence. Did Uncle Bayo owe you money? Did he refuse to help you? We can understand if it was self-defense. More silence. For 3 hours, Chuka said nothing. He just stared at the wall behind Fadeke's head, as if seeing something she couldn't see. But then he asked for paper and pen. You want to write a confession? Fadeke asked hopefully. Chuka shook his head and began drawing. Strange diagrams filled the paper. Chains connected to padlocks. Locks connected to keys. Keys connected to more chains. The drawings made no sense, but they were detailed and precise. Like blueprints for something important. Fadeke studied the papers, trying to understand. Then her blood went cold. One drawing showed a house. A small house with a red gate and yellow flowers in the front yard. It was her house. Exact details. Even her daughter's bicycle by the front door. How do you know where I live? She whispered. Chuka looked at her for the first time. His eyes were sad but not crazy. Inspector, he said quietly, some chains are invisible. But they're still real. Then he went back to staring at the wall, leaving Fadeke with more questions than answers. The next afternoon, an old man walked into the police station. He was tall and thin, wearing a faded brown suit that had seen better days. His name was Mr. Oladimeji, and he asked to speak with Inspector Fadeke. I taught that boy, he said, pointing to Chuka's photo. Chuka Okafor. He was in my English class at Government Secondary School, Mushin. What can you tell me about him? Fadeke asked. Mr. Oladimeji sat down heavily. Chuka was brilliant. Best student I ever taught. But in his final year, something happened. What kind of something? He discovered a secret cult in our school. Students were being forced to join. Teachers were being threatened. The principal was involved. Fadeke leaned forward. What did Chuka do? He gathered evidence. Names, photos, recordings of their meetings. He brought everything to me because he trusted me. And then? Mr. Oladimeji's face darkened. I was scared. These cult people were dangerous. So I told Chuka to forget what he saw and focus on his studies. But he didn't forget. No. He took the evidence to the police himself. 3 cult members were arrested. But the leaders escaped. Fadeke felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together. What happened to Chuka after that? The cult members who weren't caught made his life hell. They threatened his family. Burned his father's shop. Eventually, Chuka had to drop out of university and disappear. When was this? 3 years ago. But Inspector. Mr. Oladimeji leaned closer. These cult people don't forgive. They don't forget. If Chuka is back in Lagos, it means something big is happening. 2 hours after Mr. Oladimeji left the station, Sergeant Tund made a disturbing discovery. Ma, I tried calling the teacher to ask more questions. His phone is switched off. Maybe he's busy. So I went to his house. The door was broken. Everything inside was destroyed. And Ma, there was blood on the floor. Mr. Oladimeji had vanished. Inspector Fadeke knew she was dealing with something bigger than a simple murder. She began investigating Oshodi's underground world, talking to traders, taxi drivers, and street boys who knew the area's secrets. What she discovered made her stomach turn. The Chains, everyone whispered the name with fear. A secret brotherhood that controlled fear itself in Oshodi. They collected protection money from traders. They decided who could do business and who couldn't. They made people disappear. How do they operate? Fadeke asked a young trader named Emeka. They leave calling cards, he explained. A small chain necklace. If you find it in your shop, your car, or your house, it means they're watching you. What happens if you ignore their warning? Emeka's eyes went wide. Nobody ignores the chains, Ma. Nobody. That evening, Fadeke picked up her 10-year-old daughter from school. Blessing was a bright girl who loved mathematics and wanted to become a doctor. At home, while Blessing did her homework, Fadeke helped her pack her school bag for the next day. Her hand touched something cold and metallic at the bottom of the bag. She pulled it out slowly, her heart pounding. A small chain necklace. Rusted iron links connected in a perfect circle. The chains had been inside her daughter's school. They had touched her child's belongings. The message was clear: stop investigating, or your daughter pays the price. Fadeke looked at Blessing, who was solving math problems peacefully, unaware that deadly people were threatening her life. For the first time since becoming a police officer, Inspector Fadeke felt truly afraid. The next morning brought a shocking discovery. While reviewing Uncle Bayo's personal files, Sergeant Tund found something that changed everything. Ma, look at this, he said, showing Fadeke a faded photograph. The picture showed Uncle Bayo as a younger man, standing with a woman and a small boy. On the back, someone had written, Bayo, Amaka, and little Chuka, Family Day 1995. Uncle Bayo was Chuka's uncle. Fadeke stared at the photo in disbelief. Not just uncle, Ma. According to these documents, Bayo was Chuka's mother's brother. But they had a big fight 15 years ago. What kind of fight? Sergeant Tund pulled out more papers. Chuka's mother, Amaka, was pregnant with no husband. Bayo was ashamed and said she brought disgrace to the family. He cut all contact with her. So why was Chuka in Oshodi that night? Maybe he came to ask for help. Or to reconcile with his uncle. But Fadeke knew there was more to the story. She requested the CCTV footage from shops near Uncle Bayo's stall. What she saw on the grainy video made her question everything she thought she knew. The footage showed Chuka approaching Uncle Bayo's stall at 9:30 p.m. The two men talked for several minutes. Uncle Bayo looked angry at first, then surprised, then afraid. At 9:45 p.m., Chuka left the stall. Uncle Bayo was still alive. But at 10:15 p.m., another figure approached the stall. Someone in dark clothes with their face covered. This person entered the stall and didn't come out for 20 minutes. When they finally left, Uncle Bayo was already dead. Chuka hadn't killed his uncle. But he had been there shortly before the real killer arrived. The question was, did Chuka know who the real killer was? Armed with new evidence, Inspector Fadeke returned to the interrogation room. This time, she approached Chuka differently. I know you didn't kill your uncle, she said simply. For the first time since his arrest, Chuka looked directly at her. Do you, Inspector? Are you sure? His voice was calm, almost amused. The CCTV footage shows you left before he died. Someone else killed Uncle Bayo. Chuka smiled sadly. CCTV can lie, Inspector. Evidence can be planted. Truth can be buried. What makes you think you know what really happened? Fadeke pulled out her notebook. Then tell me the truth. Help me understand. Instead of answering, Chuka asked a question. Inspector, if you saw a man drowning, would you save him? Of course. Even if saving him meant another man would drown. Fadeke frowned. What kind of question is that? The kind that reveals who you really are, Chuka said. Let me ask another one. If stopping one crime meant allowing 10 crimes to continue, what would you choose? I would find a way to stop all 11 crimes. Chuka laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Spoken like someone who has never faced real evil, Inspector. Let me try once more. He leaned forward, his eyes intense. If your boss ordered you to arrest an innocent man to protect guilty ones, what would you do? Fadeke's mouth went dry. What are you trying to tell me? I'm telling you that your boss, Commissioner Adebayo, is not after justice. He is after silence. The words hung in the air like smoke. My boss is a good man. He served the police force for 20 years. Has he, Inspector? Or has he served other masters? Before Fadeke could respond, Chuka pointed to the corner of the interrogation room. See that small camera? The one hidden behind the air vent. Your entire conversation with me is being recorded. And I guarantee you, it will be online before sunset. Fadeke's heart pounded as she looked where Chuka pointed. There, barely visible behind the air conditioning vent, was a tiny camera lens. Someone had been recording their private conversations. Who put that there? She whispered. Someone who wants to control what you discover, Chuka replied. Someone who needs to know how close you're getting to the truth. Fadeke's phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. Check YouTube. Search Inspector Fadeke interrogation leaked. With trembling fingers, she opened the YouTube app. The video was already there, uploaded just minutes ago. It showed her entire conversation with Chuka, including his claims about Commissioner Adebayo. The video had over 1,000 views already. Comments were pouring in. Police corruption exposed. Inspector Fadeke is being used. The system is rotten. Her phone rang. Commissioner Adebayo. Fadeke. What is this nonsense on the internet? You're making the entire police force look bad. Sir, I didn't know we were being recorded. Someone planted a camera. I don't want to hear excuses. Release the boy immediately and close this case. The minister is asking questions. But sir, there's evidence that suggests. Evidence? The only evidence I care about is that video making us look like fools. End this investigation now. The line went dead. Fadeke stared at her phone, understanding finally dawning. The commissioner wasn't interested in solving Uncle Bayo's murder. He wanted it buried. But why? Sergeant Tund knocked on the door. Ma, you need to see this. He handed her a file marked, confidential, commissioner's desk. Where did you get this? Someone slipped it under my car windshield with a note, for Inspector Fadeke, the truth. Inside the file were bank statements, photographs, and meeting records. All showing Commissioner Adebayo's connections to known criminals in Oshodi. Including members of the Chains. Her own boss was part of the very network she was investigating. By evening, the leaked video had exploded across social media. News stations picked up the story. Hashtag Justice for Oshodi began trending on Twitter. But something else was spreading faster than hashtags, anger. Students from nearby universities marched toward Oshodi police station, demanding Chuka's release. Market traders who had suffered under the chains joined them. Street boys who had been harassed by corrupt police added their voices. By 8 p.m., hundreds of people surrounded the station, chanting and holding signs, "Free Chuka. Stop police corruption. Justice for Uncle Bayo." Commissioner Adebayo ordered riot police with tear gas and rubber bullets. "Disperse this crowd immediately," he commanded. But the crowd had grown to thousands. When police fired tear gas, the protesters didn't run. They got angrier. Someone threw a stone. Then another. Soon, the peaceful protest became a riot. Cars were overturned. Shop windows shattered. The air filled with smoke and screams. In the chaos, nobody noticed a small group of men in dark clothes approaching the police station's back entrance. Nobody saw them cut through the fence. Nobody realized they had come for Chuka. By the time Sergeant Tun discovered the empty holding cell, it was too late. Chuka was gone. A note left on his bed contained just 2 words: "Game begins." Outside, Oshodi burned while police and protesters battled in the streets. Inside the station, Inspector Fadeke realized she had lost the one person who could expose the truth about the chains. Or had she? Maybe Chuka's escape wasn't a rescue. Maybe it was part of a much larger plan. 3 days after the riots, Oshodi was quiet but tense. Broken glass still covered the streets. Burned-out cars rusted where they had been overturned. The smell of smoke lingered in the air. Inspector Fadeke had been suspended pending investigation into the leaked video. Commissioner Adebayo claimed she had embarrassed the police force and damaged public trust. But Fadeke wasn't sitting idle. Using her personal contacts, she tracked down rumors about Chuka's whereabouts. Street informants whispered that he had been seen near the old warehouses by the railway tracks. The same area where the chains held their secret meetings. Against orders, Fadeke went there alone. She found Chuka sitting on a concrete block outside an abandoned factory. He wasn't hiding. He was waiting. "You came," he said without looking up. "I knew you would. Chuka, you need to come back to the station. I can protect you." He laughed bitterly. "Protect me? Inspector, you can't even protect yourself. They suspended you, didn't they? How did you know?" "Because I know how the chains operate. They have people everywhere. Police, government, media. Anyone who threatens them gets destroyed." Fadeke sat down beside him. "Then why are you here? Why come back to the place where they can find you?" Chuka turned to face her, and she saw something new in his eyes. Not fear. Not sadness. Determination. "Because I was never their victim, Inspector. I was their recruit." Fadeke's blood went cold. "What do you mean?" 3 years ago, when they destroyed my life for exposing their school operations, they gave me a choice. Join them or die. And you joined. I pretended to join. I learned their rituals, their passwords, their secrets. I discovered who their leaders are, where they keep their money, how they control people through fear. But why? Chuka stood up, his face hard with resolve. To destroy them from the inside. Uncle Bayo was my contact. He was helping me gather evidence to bring down the entire network. Then who killed him? Someone discovered our plan. Someone wanted to stop us before we could expose the truth. Chuka looked directly at Fadeke. "Inspector, I've spent 3 years preparing for this moment. I know where they meet tonight. I know who will be there. I can end the chains forever." He paused, studying her face. "But I can't do it alone. Either you join me to end them, or you'll end you." Ko recognized with shock. Commissioner Adebayo. "Brothers," the commissioner said, his voice echoing in the empty space, "we have a problem. That boy Chuka knows too much. The teacher who helped him has been silenced, but the boy remains a threat." "Then we kill him tonight," said another voice. "Like we killed his uncle when he refused to cooperate." Fadeke's body went cold. Commissioner Adebayo had ordered Uncle Bayo's murder. From their hiding spot, Chuka whispered, "Now you understand. Your own boss is the head of the chains. He's controlled Oshodi for 15 years. Suddenly, Chuka stepped out of the shadows into the light. "Good evening, brothers," he said calmly. 30 men jumped to their feet. Weapons appeared from nowhere. The commissioner's face went white with shock. "You," he snarled. "You should be dead." "Sorry to disappoint you," Chuka replied. "But I have something that belongs to you." He pulled out a small recording device. 3 years of conversations. Names, dates, crimes, bank accounts. Everything needed to destroy the chains forever. "Kill him," the commissioner screamed. But before anyone could move, police sirens wailed outside. Bright lights flooded the warehouse. Federal police officers surrounded the building. Inspector Fadeke stepped into the light beside Chuka, her weapon drawn. "This is the federal police. You're all under arrest." The warehouse erupted in chaos. Some cult members tried to run. Others fought. The commissioner pulled out a gun, aiming directly at Chuka. "If I'm going down, you're coming with me." But as his finger squeezed the trigger, a shot rang out from the warehouse rafters. The commissioner fell, clutching his shoulder. In the shadows above, a sniper lowered his rifle. But the face behind the scope remained hidden in darkness. As federal officers handcuffed the cult members, Fadeke turned to thank Chuka. But he was gone. Only a note remained: "Some chains are meant to be broken. Others are meant to bind evil forever. Thank you for choosing the right side, Inspector." 3 months later, the chains network was completely destroyed. Hundreds of arrests were made across Lagos. Corrupt officials were removed from office. But Chuka was never found. Some say he disappeared forever, his mission complete. Others believe he's still out there, fighting other battles against corruption and evil. Inspector Fadeke was promoted to commissioner, tasked with cleaning up the police force. And sometimes, when she faces impossible cases, she finds anonymous tips slipped under her door. Always signed, a friend. This folktale teaches us that corruption thrives when silence becomes normal. Fear is a weapon, but truth, though costly, is the only key to break chains of oppression. In our communities, schools, and workplaces, we all face moments when we must choose between speaking up or staying quiet. Chuka chose to risk everything for justice, even when it meant years of sacrifice and danger. Parents, students, and educators must remember, evil grows when good people stay quiet. But when brave individuals stand together, even the strongest chains of corruption can be broken. The real heroes are not those with superpowers, but ordinary people who refuse to accept injustice as normal. Sometimes, being a hero means being patient, gathering evidence, and waiting for the right moment to strike. And sometimes, it means trusting others to continue the fight, even when you can't see the victory yourself. The chains may be broken, but the fight for justice never ends. I have some questions for you. 1. If you were Inspector Fadeke, would you have trusted Chuka or jailed him immediately? 2. Was Chuka a hero using silence as a weapon, or a manipulator playing mind games? 3. If the story continued, do you think Chuka survives the sniper's bullet? Why do you think so? Drop your answers in the comments section below. Let's hear your mind.